What up, dude?
What's up, Travis in Georgia? How you doing, brother?
Freezing.
We're not.
I know. We got friends all over this place that are losing power. We lost our power today, as I was telling you before the show. So it's, it is what it is.
It's February when we're doing this, and I saw a map today online that showed snow in the south, and I'm going, poor Travis is freezing. They don't know what the hell to do with snow out there. They're probably all trapped in their cars.
The bad news is that a week ago, so today we're recording this on a Monday, it airs on a Tuesday. So, but a week ago, this past Sunday, so on January the 18th, it snowed in Albany, Georgia, but I was in Atlanta. I was hanging out with my son because it was his birthday. His birthday is actually on the 19th, Tuesday. So I missed the snow. The good news is that Albany, Georgia might get yet another snow before this week is over.
Wow.
I grew up in Albany, never gotten 2 years of snow in a row. Never.
Wow.
And to boot, we get 2 snows in 1 year. So
where I live in Sunland, California, I've lived here probably on and off 2 or 3 times, different places, but I've probably been here maybe 25 years, 30 years of my life, and it has snowed exactly twice in that length of time. It was just those weird conditions that happen once in a while in California, but it's really unusual. Yeah.
Well, alas, such is the way it is.
Travis, I'm stuck, brother. You're really good at deciphering this stuff. I'm reading this book by Norm Geisler on Thomas Aquinas, and I'm sailing along, understanding it really well. And then I hit this paragraph, and I'm like, the car hit the wall, man. And I want to read this paragraph, and I think I could read it upside down and backwards, and I wouldn't understand it less, because I just don't get it. And I don't like that, so I got irritated, and I put it aside, and here we are. Let's talk about it in front of everybody. So it's on page 92, and he's talking about the philosophical argument. And he says the essence, stop me if you don't want me to do the whole paragraph, but it's only like 3 sentences. He says the essence of Parmenides' argument is that there cannot be more than one thing, absolute monism. For if there are 2 things, then they would have to differ. But for things to differ, they must differ either by being or by non-being. But since being is that which makes them identical, they cannot differ by it. Nor, on the other hand, can they differ by non-being, for non-being is nothing, and to differ by nothing is not to differ at all. Hence, for Parmenides, there cannot be a plurality of beings, but only one single indivisible being, a rigid monism.
Right.
So where I get stuck here is I don't even get the argument. If I've got a red Chevy on my left, and the next red Chevy that came off the assembly line on my right, and they are 100% exactly identical. And if I took a picture of one and sent it to you, you couldn't tell which one I took a picture of. They're still 2 different Chevys. Yeah. And I can't see how in any possible way they are the same. So I don't even get the argument is where I'm headed. So enlighten me, brother.
Well, I will begin by quoting Obi-Wan Kenobi, who said to Luke, "Your eyes can deceive you, so don't trust them." Now, in the context of that quote, Luke is practicing blocking laser shots from a robot.
I remember.
And he's trying to block them. And so he says, let go of your conscious self and act purely on instinct and he puts the blast shield on. And Luke says, well, the blast shield helps him see. And he goes, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Now, the heart of a pantheistic or monistic metaphysic, I'm going to stop right there and define the terms. Pantheism is the belief that everything is God. And monism is the belief that all is one, that there's only one thing. Okay. Pantheism is a spiritual version of monism, and monism is the philosophical version of pantheism. So in the East, they will speak of consciousness, spirituality, all is God, all is Brahman, and so on and so forth. And all the diversity that we experience is illusion. They call it Maya. Okay. So diversity, change, finitude, all of that is Maya or illusion. The only thing that really exists is God. Parmenides is coming from a purely philosophical standpoint, but it still has a kind of Hindu cast to it, in the sense that instead of saying all is God, he's going to say all is one substance. And all the diversity and change we experience is illusory. And he's not going to spiritualize that. He's just saying that's just a fact. Now, how does he know that? Well, the first thing he does is he questions the reliability of sensation. And I'm not speaking particularly of Parmenides, because Parmenides doesn't leave a whole lot to read. But your typical pantheist is not going to trust the senses. So they're not going to be fazed by your analogy of the two trucks. He would say you're begging the question. So, Ross, we're asking you to step out of your Western, rationalistic, empiricistic, slave mentality, where you've been bound to this world, and an illusion has been covering your eyes ever since you were born. And this horrible thing called Christianity has fostered this illusion. And we're asking you to break free and understand the unity of all things, that everything is absolutely one. And how do we know that? Not through sensation. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. You must know this through reason. Pure reason gives you the proof that all is one. Why? Because being is. In fact, Parmenides is famous for saying this. He says, whatever is. And to quote R.C. Sproul, and this guy is famous.
Yeah.
You know, whatever is. All right. Being is. Now, if there's going to be more than one being.
By being, do you mean thing?
Things. Thing.
Right.
Thing.
Okay.
Being. What is. Whatever is. And if there's going to be more than one being, those two beings hypothetically obviously have to differ with one another. Right?
Well, they differ in the example of my two red Chevys, they differ only in location.
Okay, but let's just back up for a second and say, in order for two beings to differ, first of all, if they are going to be two beings, they have to be different. And so the question is, what makes them different?
Why do they have to be different?
Because if they aren't different, then they're one being.
Okay, let's go back to an example. Let's go back to a molecule, an atom of carbon, an atom of hydrogen on my left, and an atom of hydrogen on my right. One proton, one neutron, one electron. Okay?
In order for those two things to differ, they have to differ either in something or nothing.
Why? Because I can see them. Let's say I've got these special glasses on where I can see an individual atom, and I can see them both at the same time, and I don't have double vision. I'm seeing two different objects separated by a few inches, let's say. I don't see any way in which those are the same, even though you couldn't tell one from the other if you could see them up close.
All right. But the problem is that you're using sensation. He's asking you to stop trusting your senses. We don't know through sensation. That's the empiricist fallacy.
So make the rational case against what I'm saying.
An argument from pure reason would speak of being in all its purity. Okay. And if I'm going to speak of being something that is, it's automatic that I'm going to think of it as one thing.
Well, I can think of the universe, the whole universe, as one thing.
Yes.
So this argument to me,
any being that you think of is going to be one thing.
Well, the red, going back to the red
Chevy. If I think this cell phone, then this is one thing.
But it's made up of a whole bunch of one things as well.
According to your sensation.
Okay, but how can you make any kind of a rational argument without having already received sensations to be able to make the argument?
How can you use sensation to know anything when your sensations are constantly deceiving you?
Because we use sensations all day long that keep us from dying or not dying. When I get in my car, I am absolutely confident that what I am seeing is true, because nothing ever hits me and kills me where I don't perceive that there was something there. If something hits me and puts me in the hospital, I can look back and I can say, boy, I really did a stupid thing. I was looking at my cell phone and I ran into the back of that guy. Or somebody ran.
All you're proving is that you're deceived.
Well, you can say that.
Your eyes can deceive you, so why are you trusting them?
Because
who says there's a difference between death and life?
Well, then
that assumes the very pluralism that I'm arguing against.
But you can say this, what you're saying, without any evidence at all. It's like I can talk about how Santa Claus really exists. And I can just tell you that he exists and he's really in the North Pole and he really does go out every Christmas Eve. But that what you're saying goes against everything we're able to perceive or even reason about the world. I mean,
it goes against your universal experience. Yes. I might be able to grant that. But my argument is that your experience is clouded by delusion because you're depending on your senses to get around the world.
But my senses are reliable. I can prove it every day. I eat food. I don't go out in the garden and eat dirt. I eat food. And when I eat good food, I don't get sick. So my senses reliably dictate what I eat or don't eat. I know if I eat dirt or drink too much or whatever it is, I'm going to get sick. So there is a certain cause and effect there that seems reliable.
Right, but your senses can't really get to the reality of something. In other words, your senses.
Why?
Well, because you can't trust them because they contradict each other. They contradict all the time. Sometimes you'll eat a food that you think is good and it makes you sick.
Yes, but that doesn't mean my senses are entirely unreliable. It just means they're mostly reliable and sometimes not.
But reason is far more reliable because it's consistent.
Okay,
for example, I can doubt, quote unquote, doubt the existence of Santa Claus, but I can't doubt the existence of being.
Correct.
Which would be the same thing as saying I'm doubting the existence of existence.
Yeah, it's like the one thing that we can, reliably say that I think, therefore I am. I can guarantee that I exist because I am perceiving myself and I am seeing through my mind the world. So you may be an illusion, but I'm not.
Well, that's, I mean, but notice how Descartes came to that conclusion. When he came to his great cogito, he said, okay, I can't trust my senses because my senses can deceive me. And if I want to really know the truth, I have to build everything on pure reason.
Okay,
So it's interesting that you embraced a rationalist principle at the end of the day, proving that empiricism just isn't going to work for you. Okay. And so if you really want to know the truth, if you really know what being really is, you have to tap into the intuition of being. You already know that being is. Okay. And the question is being more than one? Is there more than one being out there? Now, hypothetically, what would it take for there to be more than one being out there? Well, the two beings or more would have to differ.
Well, but then we're back.
How do they differ?
We're back again to the definition of differ. Is the two molecules or the two hydrogen atoms that look identical, I would say they differ because they're not taking up the same spatial coordinates.
Okay, but the problem with that is that you're depending on sensation to draw that difference.
Well, I can see that. I can make that argument rationally. I can simply say there is a particle at these XYZ coordinates, and there is another particle at these XYZ coordinates at the same time. Therefore, those two particles must be different particles. Is that not a rational argument?
Well, it's an empirical observation. And he would say you're begging the question because you're just assuming that sensation can get at the nature of things.
But I don't need my sensation to make that physical argument.
Well, you wouldn't know their coordinates if you didn't have some sort of empirical data to give you those coordinates.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is if you don't use your sensation, how do we even make a rational argument? I mean, if somebody knew nothing at all about the world,
right?
How could they say anything that was rational?
Because the rationalist doesn't feel like he has to go out and search. He can just look within his soul to know the ultimate nature of things by simply drawing out the implications of what it would mean for two things to differ. And you only have two options as to how things could differ. They either differ in something or nothing.
What do you mean by differ in nothing? I don't even understand that.
Well, the fact that you don't understand it actually proves this point, because if they differ in nothing, then there is no difference, in which case they're the same thing.
But I don't even understand the sentence. I don't even understand the meaning of the words in the sentence, to differ by nothing.
Well, if your only options are nothing and something, and there's no third option between them, then if something is going to be different than another thing, that difference, either it just is a difference of something vis-a-vis another thing, or nothing vis-a-vis another thing. And you're right. To say that they differ in nothing doesn't even make sense, because if they differ in nothing, then there's no difference. And so your perplexity just is Parmenides' point. And so congratulations. Yeah. We've lopped off one option. One option is gone. We don't have to worry about that option. So now my question to you is, well, now we have these two. When we say that there are two options, we're only speaking about a heuristic possibility. We're not talking about a genuine possibility, right? So, for example, you might say Travis Campbell either believes in God or he doesn't believe in God. Well, you know me well enough to say that if you're going to utter that sentence, you're only speaking of it kind of heuristically, like hypothetically,
right?
If I'm playing around with the idea, Travis Campbell either believes or he doesn't believe, but it's not the case that he doesn't believe, so he believes.
Right.
All right, so the pantheist is going to say, hypothetically, just as a heuristic exercise, just kind of getting into this, if there's going to be two things, there has to be some difference between them, or else they wouldn't be two things. I mean, what's the difference between Clark Kent and Superman? Well, there's no difference. That's why they're one person.
But you're saying that, you're saying it as a matter, in your mind, as a matter of fact, when it goes entirely against our experience and common sense. So you really got to.
Well, what are your, because when you say they differ in the space between them, like two cars or two molecules, you are saying that they differ in something, namely space between them.
That's right. But
okay.
They're still,
so you agree? You agree with the disjunct? In other words, the disjunct stands if they differ in something or nothing.
Yeah, and to say they differ in nothing, to me, doesn't mean anything. So why is it even an option?
Because he's cornering you into your only rational option. Right? It is utterly irrational to say that two things differ in nothing. That's irrational.
Is that the same thing?
And that's his point. It would be just the same thing if you're walking a toddler through a math problem and you give them hypothetical options when you know darn well that there's really only one option, and you're showing the toddler or the young person that's learning math how math works. Math is great because it corners you into one option, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll have a multiple choice test, and the question is 2 + 2 =, and you have all these other options. You and I both know that there's only one option, but you're allowing the child to think through the possibilities, which aren't actually possibilities.
Right.
They're what we would call pedagogical or heuristic possibilities. Just for the sake of learning, just for the sake of securing your reason, you throw that out as a possibility. And so Parmenides throws out a disjunct, and the disjunct is something or nothing. Hypothetically, any two things are going to differ. They have to differ.
Yes.
Because if they don't differ, then they're the same thing.
Right. And I'm saying if they're
going to differ, they're going to differ in either nothing or something. But the first option makes no sense. In the same way that 2 + 2 =, among this list of possibilities, 5, that makes no sense. And so you throw that off. And so what you're left with is that are differing in something.
Okay. So my two hydrogen atoms differ in different spatial place at the same time.
Right. And he's asking you to think about being on a deeper level than just two particular atoms. And he's saying being itself, if it's going to have a difference within it, that difference has to be either in something or nothing. But it can't be nothing. It can't be nothing. We've already established that. Therefore, it must be something. But the problem with saying it differs in something is to say that it differs in what it has in common, because everything has being in common. But that makes no sense too. And therefore, there can only be one being. All of your experiences to the contrary, this is proof that there's only one thing.
I missed it. I don't get it. I just gave an example, several, where there's two different things. Right. And I don't.
He's asking you to stop trusting your senses, Ross. You keep going back to your sensation. Stop it. Think about this on a deep metaphysical level. If two things differ, they only differ in something or nothing, but both options are irrational. You can't differ in nothing, obviously, and you can't differ in what you have in common. It's what if it's what you have in common, then there can't be a difference. And so both options are irrational, which means that there cannot be more than one being. There can only be one being. Now, what is the pill you have to swallow once you come to that conclusion? Is a purely rational argument. It's no less certain than 2 + 2 = 4. So what do you have to do? You have to say, my senses are deceiving me.
Okay.
24/7, all the time. I'm trapped in this illusion. It's the Matrix, dude.
So let's change it. Let's change the example. I have a hydrogen atom on my left and a what's the next one up in the periodic table? Lithium, I think. Okay, it's got two electrons and 2 protons. They are, I can describe rationally the difference between them. They cannot be the same thing.
You're not describing rationally anything. You're giving empirical observations. And I keep telling you, stop trusting your senses. They deceive you.
But my observation of these things many times will dictate true things, will tell me true things about those objects. And
insofar as those objects are different, they're lying to you. Insofar as those objects are the same, you're learning something about them.
Okay, so if I look at the hydrogen atom on my left and the lithium atom on my right, and I close my eyes, and I sing a song, and I open my eyes again, it's still going to be the lithium atom or the hydrogen atom on my left and the lithium atom on my right. They're not going to switch places. They're not going to become other atoms. If what is it in the universe then, if what you're saying is true, that maintains the illusion of those differences? There must be some controlling factor outside of my mind then that does that. And what makes sense that would be is the reality of the objects themselves that maintain their difference even when I'm not looking at them or thinking about them.
Being.
They both exist. Okay. So are we?
And all we pantheists want you to do is stop using the word both and just say being is. Don't trust your senses. They can deceive you. When you're driving down the road and you see what you think is water, is there water there? When you put an oar in the river and it looks bent, is it deceiving you? How do you know, and how do you know for sure that tactile sensation is better than sight? How do you know that what you're seeing through the microscope is even real?
I think it's
all that exists is really just pure energy or being, in which case, in reality, there are no differences. And I just wish you, my friend, would wake up from this terrible dream you're in. I'm trying to enlighten you.
I think this is a bad dream, Travis. I thought it was really you over here.
The pantheist is never going to be fazed by empirically based arguments. Because the very point he's making is that your senses are deceiving you.
But he doesn't live like that. He doesn't. He doesn't.
He will be the first. He will be the first to admit that he's trapped in the illusion too, and that's why he has to engage in certain spiritual practices like yoga, where he experiences true union with his inner self. Brahman is Atman. Atman is the word for self, and Brahman is the word for God. And the sacred Om that you hear a Hindu chant is the recognition that I am one with God, and that the diversity and all the things that I'm seeing around me is an illusion.
So this is what I would like.
Read the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, Krishna is basically telling Arjuna the entire battle we're about to engage in is one giant illusion.
So this is what I would like to ask them: if what they believe is entirely counter to experience, how do we know? We could probably make up 50 stories that don't match at all what we perceive and say all 50 of those stories are true and find rational reasons to believe that. We could say, you know what, Travis, really there's only really 5 things in the universe.
Well, that's 5 too many, or 4 too many.
Oh, I got a cold, man, and you're making me cough and laugh at the same time. This was fun.
But see, and here's the pantheist says part of the problem that we experience as humans is that we, being trapped into this world of illusion, experience unpleasant things like colds.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you need to do is engage in spiritual practices where you recognize your inner unity, like the pure oneness of being, and by which you transcend your lower self in a sense, and you actually you embrace what is pure being, and the Maya, the illusion all around you, fades away. And this is why the New Age is so effective in Christian circles. It's the Christ in us that matters, not the Christ of history. And we're all Christ. We're all one. And that's what Christ is trying to tell us. As he said, the kingdom of God is in you. So don't look outside of yourself for any truth. Look within, because there you'll find pure being. And all the changes in diversity we see are illusions.
So what I think, Travis, I'm seeing the light here. I think I'm seeing, you know, it really doesn't matter. I'm really just a very angry person. And, you know, if I took a gun and just shot up the post office tomorrow, it really wouldn't matter, you know, because it's all an illusion.
The only thing that matters is the damage it does to your inner self, in which case you'll have to come back in a different incarnation.
But that damage to your inner self is based on the damage to your inner self is based on what they don't believe exists. Well, how are you damaging yourself if it's all an illusion?
You're actually starting now you're starting to get into the rational internal critique of pantheism, and we can talk about it next week. But here's the question. The first step is to brunt Parmenides' argument. Meet him on his own terms and show that his argument is unsound.
Well,
that's what we'll do next week.
Yeah, I have to be honest, Travis, and I still don't get it. I just don't see how two different things can't rationally, logically, outside of my sensation, be two different things. And is it an illusion that we're out of time?
Yes, but we're going to have to quit anyway.
That sucks. This was fun.
All right. God bless you, my friend.
All right, brother.